Hello there everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today I thought we could go through some of my favorite thrift store witchy finds. All of these things I've accumulated over the past decade of just gathering knickknacks and funny things that I find at thrift stores, flea markets, and just secondhand places. And I thought it'd be really fun to go through and also kind of useful to show that you can find a lot of really good finds and some pretty unexpected places. Quite possibly featuring lots of Grim chewing on his bone in the background, but I think that is a normal sound of my videos now. So first and foremost, I have my iron cauldrons, cast iron cauldrons. I have two of them. One is pretty small and the other is still pretty small, but a little bit bigger. I use both of them pretty often in practice, and they are a really cool find. I found them maybe 5 years ago now at a funny antique store on the side of a highway. And both of them were just sitting outside, and they do have some rust and some stains and weathering from that, but they work wonders. The small one I use to burn incense in that I make, and this larger one tends to be where I'll place herb bundles that I've been burning. It is a really good container to hold them once they're fully put out, or just allow them to smoke from. However, I also have used this in larger incense or any time that I am burning spell contents in a time where it's not really safe. Say it's the summers and it's really dry, or there's a burn ban. Pop your spell ingredients in a little cauldron like this and burn them to dispose of them. Works great. These are two of my most prized possessions and perhaps the very first overtly witchy thing I got, and I absolutely adore them, and they just will always hold a very special place in my heart. I have yet to find any like this anywhere else before. They're just simple and old and useful. Oh, hello boy. Oh my. Definitely recommend, if you're someone who does a lot of burning, to get a cast iron something or other to put them in. And yeah, these were a real cool find that I haven't ever found again, but would love to. Next up, I have my iron scales, which have made an appearance a few times before. There's something that's perhaps not super witchy, but it feels good to get to measure out ingredients and things without technology, especially if I'm doing a more weighted kind of thing. These I found in a back room. They're a little rusty and very dusty, but they were in a back room on a bottom shelf, just kind of forgotten, and it's so beautiful. I actually got another cabinet there that day that I don't have out here. It's still in Virginia. You may recognize it. It's a green one that was in a lot of my old videos. So two very good finds that day. But this set of scales I've used many, many times, and it's just one of those finds that made my heart sing. I really enjoy the aesthetic of a scale. And while this one is not super useful for everyday kind of things, it does come in handy for certain kinds of workings and is especially just kind of nice to look at. It did come with a couple of weights. They're fairly heavy for most herbal workings, but it's pretty exciting and cool to get to work with something like that. Now, this third one's not really that exciting, but it's what sparked my collection and really intrigued with gathering a lot of tools in regards to herbalism specifically. And it's an antique pair of iron shears. So I have since bought many more modern pairs of iron shears, and I use them constantly. They're super useful as harvesting tools, and even though I don't really use this pair that much these days, as it's fairly old and not so sharp, kind of brittle now, it sparked that collection and that joy of using a very simple, beautiful tool. I'm trying to remember exactly where I found these guys. They could have just been on a shelf. I don't quite remember, but I had been searching for a pair of shears like this for a long while. I didn't want a new pair. I wanted an old pair, and it was just a really meaningful find for me that day. And now I have a lot of antique harvesting tools and a lot of modern ones as well that are more useful. But it really sparked that joy. I don't know if you can hear it, but Grim is snoring. Sleepy boy. Next is also kind of a simple thing, but something that I find really useful. It is a silver cup. It is something I've used a lot for offerings or for any spells that I need to leave in a certain place for a while, similar to an offering. I've also grown plants in it and had spells that are meant to be growth spells. It's kind of one of those tools that fits a lot of purposes. There is a sister cup that my mom has in Virginia that I believe she just keeps plants in. But this was a funny find at a flea market that actually I believe my mother made. And it's gotten a lot of use in the years that I've had it. Ultimately, you can use it to burn stuff, to smother things, to grow things, or just to offer things, and I really like it. I recommend having a cup or a bowl or something that is kind of dedicated to these purposes. They're super useful, and it's fun to have one that feels special. So something like this, silver and nice, just feels right to me and happy. Now, this last one is not something I utilize a lot or really at all, and I got it mainly for the aesthetics of it because it is a very classically witchy item. And while I don't delve into this kind of magic, I do enjoy having it in my space. It's happy and very pleasing to look at. And the fact that it was found at a flea market makes it all the better. But it is a crystal ball and a very, very beautiful stand. I believe my mom also made this find, actually. She has a very keen eye for cool witchy things, but it is a great joy to just have about, and I'm not very well trained in these kinds of arts, and I don't even believe that this is a proper crystal ball, but it is a really funny find, and I just kind of wanted to include it to show that you can find some really cool things for more affordable prices secondhand than say at a crystal shop. Now, I don't know all of the ins and outs of this crystal ball, but it's still a really cool find, and if you're in the market for interesting things, it's worth checking out places like that instead of shops that tend to have really expensive prices. A lot of the finds I've made over the years have been really interesting antique things that are crafted beautifully and have lasted many lifetimes. Each and every one of these items is unique. It has a story and a history and a soul. In some ways that can be a little bit bad. Sometimes you track in things that you don't want to. Haunted table, which also was a thrift store find. But there are ways to avoid that. Proper cleansings help, and I've made vanishing oils that I have been utilizing on everything now that I bring into my home, and I really like that. It works really well for me, and I've found some methods of getting antiques and bringing them in without bringing in stuff I don't intend to. But when you get an antique, you get something that is old and often loved, and it has a story. It's different. It's not this mass-produced thing, and a lot of these things are handmade, and you can feel the energy that went into them, into crafting them. And I much prefer that over something that was made by a machine. And so, while you certainly can get things nowadays that are still handmade, and I would recommend that when you can, they are very pricey. And so finding something that still has that same kind of energy for a little less is very nice. Grim is snoring again. So there are 5 of my favorite thrift store witchy finds. I have a ton more. If you are interested in seeing more, I can continue to make videos like these every now and again. I like looking at people's collections and stuff. I find it enjoyable, and especially this week, I think I'm still recovering from being sick, and I'm just tired, and I wanted a nice, calm, chatty video, and this felt like a really good one to make. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope Grim's snoring is not bothering you too much. And yeah, that's about it. Let me know in the comments any of your favorite thrift store finds and witchy finds. Before I go though, if you can and would like to, I'd really appreciate it if you checked out my Patreon. There I share art, herbal profiles, workshops, and all these other fun things, book recommendations. It's been great. Today, when this video comes out, I will be sharing at noon Pacific time a video on all the different kinds of spell preparations, and it'll be interactive and live. And if you want to take part in that, come meet me over in the Juniper tier on Patreon. If you don't have the time to meet me then, or haven't seen this video yet, the workshop will be available for another 2 weeks for your viewing if you're interested. But every month I do a workshop over there that you all get to vote on in Patreon and decide on. So it's been a ton of fun. I really have enjoyed doing it. It's a great interactive lesson, and it's nice getting to hear from you all and teach that way. It's just fun, it's enjoyable. So it's $15 if you're interested. And if you haven't checked out my other channel, I'd recommend checking it out. There I share vlogs and more of the daily rhythms of my life. I am about to share a little bit more on burnout and kind of a journey through that in the weeks to come, and kind of figuring out life after getting really sick again, and how that's going to interact with my craft and herbalism and those things. It's just a little bit more personal and less teachy, if you will. So if either of those sound like something you're interested, both of them will be linked in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're having a lovely day. I'll see you soon. Bye.